as horrible as it is, I feel like all of this was happening for me. Like everything that was not meant to be just crumbled from my
Mhm.
life. Like all in one go, but
Yeah.
like I feel like you need to like remove and destroy what's not supposed to be there so that you can finally start building your authentic life.
Hello, everyone. I am so grateful and so happy to have Vera Wilhelmsen. I practiced it and everything, and I still got it wrong.
It's
Vera
okay.
Wilhelmsen from
Yes.
Trondheim, Norway. Close.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us today, Vera.
Thank you so much for having me. And this is my only headset, so please try to take me semi-seriously anyway. So I'm glad to be here.
I think it's great. I think it's really awesome. All right, so Vera is here today to talk a bit about her health journey. So, well, part of the reason I'm really excited to talk to you is that you have a somewhat unique story with your health, but then also a lot of things that I think people can relate to. So, Vera, you were diagnosed with ME or CFS, as well as irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, correct?
Yes. IBS in 2012, and
Okay.
then the fatigue came in 2015, actually. And the diagnosis ME CFS was in 2017, so it was a long span there.
And your ME/CFS, when it's at its worst, would have been classified as severe. You were bedbound for some time.
Yes, like on and off bedbound, altogether 3 years. I had severe trouble with showering,
Okay.
cooking. Like I remember going 2 weeks without showering, and yeah, it was just horrible. Yeah,
Wow.
it's like inhumane living. Yeah, but I know many people are out there still living like this. So
Yeah. Which is
yeah.
part of the reason it's so wonderful to have you here today, because you have fully recovered from all of this. So that's why I'm just so excited to get to talk to you, to get to hear a bit about your journey. Of course, some of the things that worked for you to help you recover, and just anything else that you can share with everybody else out there. So before we dive into, when it kind of all started to fall apart, so to speak, can you give us a bit of an idea what your life was like before your health started to go sideways?
My life, it was one of those situations that looked good on the outside, you could say, but on the inside I was miserable, and I woke up with panic attacks, and I wasn't doing what I wanted to do, and I just felt so trapped. I was a student in university, and I was studying chemistry. So I was on a path to becoming like master's degree chemical engineer. And this was I had been under a lot of pressure to become an engineer my entire life.
Okay.
And I didn't think there were any options really. There was also a lot of fear that um, if you don't become an engineer, you will suffer, you will struggle. I really believe this. I didn't think that um, you could have a happy life on anything else than engineer's salary. I didn't think you would. I think you would. I thought you would like struggle to survive on anything else than that. That's what I was taught, and so
Okay.
every day at university I was like, this is life or death, because every assignment felt like literal life or death, because
Wow.
that was the level of panic and stress I was under. And I also played in the student orchestra, and I don't know, if you get to know my personality, you'll maybe think that, is classical music really a good fit for you?
I've
And
been
it's
following you on Instagram, and I never in a million years would have thought, yeah, I think classical music. That's what I see happening.
yeah. And that's how I felt, like I was like very like toned down and very like,
Okay.
this is the box you have to fit in. Like there's nothing wrong with classical music, but
Mm.
like after recovery, I've gone to like dance classes and stuff and feel like, oh, okay, maybe this is a better fit for me, because I think I'm much too like woo for classical music. But it was really great. But I remember the only times I really had fun when I played the cello was when we played Game of Thrones and Harry Potter and stuff. So yeah, so it like looked nice, but it wasn't me. And it didn't feel good, and I felt really trapped and like I had to keep up this image and be this person that would please. So I wasn't living a life for me, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of pressure. The way you describe that, I can't even imagine. So what
Yeah.
was it like for you when you first started to experience some health problems? What did that look like?
Um, my stomach issues began like 6 months before university began.
Okay.
And I think like the pressure was like rising around that time, because uh, I had kind of been waiting to fulfill my destiny as an engineer like my entire life. Like this was what I'd been told my entire life that I had to do, and now it was really happening. And so yeah, everything like ramped up. And I was also traveling at the time. So my stomach issues started in Brazil, but from everything I know now about stomach issues, that one infection can't like give you trouble for that long. Like
Okay.
there were other factors
Right.
contributing, but yeah, there was maybe some weird bug or something in Brazil, but
Right.
the stress was definitely the cause.
Right. So at the time, it sounds like you chalked it up maybe to just, oh, I picked up a bug in Brazil and
Yeah,
it's hanging around and I can't get rid of it.
yeah, I got a lot of tests and some antibiotics, etc., but didn't really help because I wasn't dealing with the root cause, because I haven't like figured it out yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I began university with the stomach issues, and it was it was like uh, it's really hard to focus when your health isn't working. Like
Yeah.
yeah, I remember like it was painful to sit down in the classes, and it was like I was just focused on breathing. And yeah, my entire time in university was in like survival mode because of the stomach issues and because of the it's now or never.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it
did you
was
manage to get through? Did you manage to finish your program or how did that go?
no. My program was 5 years. So if you
Okay.
like quit after 4.5, you don't get any degree, not even a
Wow.
bachelor's degree, because it was a 5 year straight
Oh,
to
wow.
master's program. So 2.5 years in, I collapsed. Or I collapsed for 1 semester, became bedbound, had trouble lifting my head up from the pillow. Okay, I'm going to give you a timeline here. Summer of 2015, I really began feeling hot flashes and fatigue and like slight dizziness. And that September, October, I collapsed. I remember I collapsed after a big concert. Like I had been like, I was just gonna get through that concert, but then I like, yeah. And then I was bedbound until Christmas. And then since I had actually rested, I felt a bit better. And I was like, yeah, let's get back to it after Christmas. And then I was like running on caffeine and sugar and painkillers just to move. Just to get up from the couch or from bed. I just really felt like I had to finish the classes. That I felt like that was so important, like more important
Mhm.
than my health. And
And
maybe if it was like I this was kind of my logic at the time, like if it was mono, then it would like pass by itself after a certain amount of
right.
time, because I heard like uh, if you get like really sick from mono, then it lasts like 6 months or something
Right.
was what I heard.
Okay.
And so I thought like it doesn't matter if I rest or work hard during those 6 months, because that's
Right.
the time it'll take anyways.
So you might as well go back to school because your life depends on it,
Yes.
really. You need this degree. So much
Yeah.
pressure that we put on ourselves and we get from other people. It's just intense that you're so sick and suffering so much, but getting back to school felt like the only thing that mattered. So
Yeah.
I don't imagine you were getting that much direction from doctors then, because if you're just waiting for it to pass on its own, or what were they telling you was the prognosis for this? What did they think was going to happen?
Uh, they didn't actually give me a prognosis. That
Okay.
was the most frustrating part, that my main doctor is a GP, maybe
Hmm.
the main one. um, she was like she didn't care, and I just wanted to like shake her sometimes, and like I'm 23 and I can't get out of bed, like. But she was like, no, there's no point in sending you to specialists, and they have more important stuff to do, or something like that.
Wow.
And since I was so used to being treated like this
Hmm.
from my upbringing,
Okay.
I I didn't think I could or deserved to switch doctors. I thought um, all doctors are like this, and the emotions I felt were wrong somehow. That my reaction was wrong, because I felt like choked up when I talked to her, and she didn't seem to care, and I felt, why am I so sensitive, and the entire world is like this, and I'm wrong somehow. Yeah. So that's kind of how, if you haven't been treated well by your first or main caregivers, then you don't recognize mistreatment from others. So yeah, I looking back, I was like, I should have switched doctors after like one
Hmm.
week. Like I randomly got to see another doctor one time, because she was away or something, and she was like, oh my, she like just called the hospital right away and was like, I have a 23-year-old here that says she has trouble walking, like, can you see her today or tomorrow? And so switch doctors. Like, don't wait to be heard or believed or seen. Like, switch if you don't feel like you're being like given a minimum level of respect. Like, don't.
So important. And I think so many of us stay with doctors that are not helping us, at least initially, because even if we didn't grow up with that, um, fallout from our family, that sort of faulty thinking about how we should be treated, I think most of us believe that doctors are the authority and what they say matters
Yeah.
more than what we say. So we sit back and it can be very intimidating even just to be in their office, you feel sort of
Yeah.
inferior and in this sort of weakened state and at their mercy, and you just sort of do what they say. So yes, good
Yes.
message.
And
Find a good doctor.
you're always waiting for the it's all in your head bomb to
Yes.
drop. It's all in your head bomb to drop. Yes.
Oh, if us in the MECFS community had $1 for every time we heard that, we could fund our research.
Yes. And
Um,
I have something to say about this, that even if it is all in your head, you should get proper help for that. Your
yeah,
doctor should still care. Like your doctor should still set up a plan, a treatment plan. Like if it is
yeah,
all in your head, then that still needs to be treated. That
yes,
doesn't mean like, okay, I'll send you
yeah,
home now. Like,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, that is a really good point actually, and something I don't hear people say very often, but that's true. Something is still wrong. Like we still need to fix it.
Yeah.
And even if it's psychosomatic symptoms, even if it's coming from the brain, the experience is still very real in the body. So whatever's happening, you
Yeah,
need
it
to figure it out.
still needs treatment.
Yes.
I used to like walk out of the doctor's office with feeling just so confused and like what just happened in there. And I had nothing to show for that appointment, like no plan, no new appointment, nothing. So uh, be a little more like argumentative with your doctor. Say
Yeah.
like, what do you mean by that? And
Right.
what's the plan? And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Take charge. I agree. I
yeah,
agree. I think it takes us all, or most of us, a while to learn that, unfortunately, but yeah, it's very important.
yeah.
So you decided you were going to push through, wait for it to go away. You went back to school, and then what happened?
Uh, then I collapsed even harder, of course. Yes, it's horrible, but it is kind of like funny also looking back. Then I feel like my body ramped up the symptoms even harder, so I would listen. Like May 2016, like after I was bedbound the fall of 2015, and then I like tried to go back. So in May 2016, I suddenly couldn't walk properly anymore. It was like my feet were like tingling so bad that they were numb, but also very tingly and very. There, it felt like there were these streams of movement, and when I closed my eyes, I couldn't tell where my legs were,
Wow.
and I could only like limp and like drag my right foot behind me, and I couldn't straighten out my knees. I would shake if I tried to like, you know, stand with straight legs. I could only stand in like a squat, so I couldn't properly stand, and that lasted until uh, my recovery in 2019. Like I was like an old lady, like holding the countertops, and yeah. So that was like the next.
Okay.
That was my,
That sounds
yeah.
that sounds terrifying. Like absolutely
Yeah.
so scary.
I just wanted to like really mention the crazy nervous system symptoms, because when I thought I was dying and I thought I was going to be paralyzed, and I couldn't find anything that that sounded like what I was experiencing when I Googled. So I lost the function in my legs and in my arms. I couldn't unclench my fists, so my arms were like this for like 3 years. And
Wow.
I also had this tingling and numb and painful. There were like electric shocks that went up and down. And there wasn't anything really dangerous going on. These were signs of extreme stress over a long period of time. So that's what I just want to put out there if anyone is struggling with this right now, that it might be a nervous system overload,
Right.
basically. And that was when I was also sent home from a doctor's appointment after that.
Again,
So,
just telling you nothing's wrong or just wait and it'll pass.
yeah. So it took months from I first began having trouble walking until I saw a neurologist.
Okay.
And this is Norway's like famous for having the best healthcare system in the world. But I'm not gonna say too much about that, but it is not my experience at least.
Okay. So what did that look like? I tend when I talk to people not to spend too much time on this because I want things to be uplifting and positive. But I also think if we gloss over the really hard parts, it can kind of do a disservice to sharing the message of what this illness is really like. Or it can make it seem like people who do recover, oh, probably, weren't that sick or, it wasn't really that bad. And you've explained some of your symptoms, and that's really helpful. But I'm just trying to picture like what was your average day like or week like? What did that feel like for you? What did that look like
Uh, so
when you
like
were
from 2016 to the beginning of 2019, that's when I consider myself to have been bedbound, and I was just in bed and feeling all these crazy symptoms, having all this pain and just breathing. It was just pure survival mode. I was just focused on, okay, how do I get to the kitchen for my next meal? Like trying not to move until I absolutely had to, planning if I could shower, choosing between showering and calling my boyfriend this week. I was just laying in bed and tried to breathe through all the pain I was feeling
wow.
physically. I listened to some audiobooks and some podcasts and some YouTube videos and without watching so much.
Mhm.
And that was like all I did for like 3 years. But in my memory, it's like since the days were so similar, it's been like what's the word?
Sort of condensed like it.
Yes, it doesn't feel like it was that long. Yeah, in
Wow.
my memory. So I guess it's like protection. Yeah.
I'm so sorry you've had to go through this. That sounds like absolute hell.
Oh,
But you did slowly start to find your way out of this. So how did that happen? What did that look like?
that happened through the podcasts I was listening to. So um, I had been on the trying to fix my gut stomach track for
Mhm.
a very long time, and uh, I always felt like things were very surface level of all the diets and treatments that were out there. But since I had tried them, and I had had the experience of them not working, I was ready to hear about something new. So
Right.
no failed treatment is a waste because it makes you free to do the next thing. Like it's nothing is a waste is my lesson. And on this, I was listening to this podcast, and there was this girl who had had a lot of seemingly unrelated symptoms and pains, and nothing worked, and it was just slowly getting worse and worse and worse. And she had been to India to volunteer or something, and was like, yeah, I will just see an Ayurvedic doctor, might as well. And Ayurveda is the traditional health system of India. It's very connected to yoga, that you can place it somewhere.
Okay.
And this doctor was like, oh, of course you have this back pain and these cracking joints when you have this constipation, and la, 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 like everything was connected. And she was like, and I was like, oh my God. I have to try this. And I just knew, because everything began with my stomach issues as well, and it was just a deterioration over time. And when she began eating more cooked foods, more warm foods, easier to digest foods, suddenly her constipation disappeared. But when the constipation disappeared, the cracking joints and the muscle stiffness disappeared. So this is all so connected. And so
Wow.
I knew I had to try Ayurveda, because it felt like they were the only ones who really knew what they were talking about when it came to digestion. They like had a full system, and
Okay.
they saw the whole pathway in the body, from digestion to the skin to the joints to the pain to the headache to everything. But it took a while from I first heard about it until I like really did it. I tried implementing it at home at first. I read The Idiot's Guide to Ayurveda, which was the author I heard on the podcast.
Okay.
But I because I thought I had to go to India to actually receive treatment, and I was bedbound. I couldn't go to the supermarket, so that wasn't happening. So I found out about Ayurveda in like spring 2018, but it wasn't until like January 2019 when I received the full shebang.
Okay.
And February 2019, I was walking 3 kilometers a day.
Wow.
Going into the city, I took the bus. I went to a cafe to see some friends, and it was like, and everyone was like, yeah.
Wow. That is a very fast transition. That's
Yes.
powerful.
Because when I finally like really understood some of the concepts, they worked immediately. Like
Okay.
I began producing more energy. Like
Okay.
so Ayurveda works when you do it right.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that was the concept of the digestive fire.
Okay.
So when I stopped eating when I wasn't hungry, like fully hungry, like no snacking, and like when you're like, I really need to eat now, and it would be really nice to eat now. Like when you let yourself get to that point of appetite, then then you eat, then you will feel light and energized after you eat. But if you eat when you are digesting the previous meal, then it's kind of like putting too many logs on a fire. It would just because after meals was always when I had my worst fatigue. That was, I sometimes had to like crawl from the bed to the bathroom after meals. I felt so heavy, and that was because I had overloaded my digestive fire.
Okay.
So this is the single most important concept of Ayurveda that I want to put out there. Like Agni, it's called in
Okay.
Sanskrit. That's like if you only learn one thing from Ayurveda, learn about that. How to take care of this fire and keep it at the optimal level. Then you'll have
That's
stable energy. Yeah.
That is really, really interesting. And the whole time you're talking, I'm thinking when the things that helped me finally recover, a huge one was diet. And the way you described eating is how I eat. And part of it for me is, what I call, or many of us call intermittent fasting. But essentially it was just cutting out snacking in the morning and the evening. And now I don't eat between meals because I also find the same that piling on food in between meals or just before I would just graze. I'd walk through the kitchen and just grab a handful of food. And so, yeah, it's
Yeah.
really helped me to wait till I'm hungry, properly hungry to eat,
Yes.
not starving, not, clawing
Yeah,
at
yeah.
the
Don't like
but
wait like
really,
too long either.
yeah,
But yeah.
yeah, respecting that kind of thing and not overloading your body. I really came to appreciate how taxing it is on your body to keep shoveling food in all the time. It really can
This
do some
also
damage.
this also reduced the brain fog
Okay.
because when uh the fire isn't ready for food and you add food, that won't be properly digested and this will become like this sticky mass
Right.
in your stomach and you can often tell on your tongue how much you have of this. We call it ama, A-M-A. It's like
Okay.
it means undigested. In Ayurveda, chronic fatigue syndrome is classified as a disease of indigestion.
Okay.
So when you have indigestion over a long period of time, you will get depleted. Like your
Okay.
tissues won't be built as good as they can be, and you will be just like fatigued and depleted. So yeah,
Okay.
I did do like an Ayurvedic treatment that might sound complicated. It's called a panchakarma,
Okay.
and it means 5 actions. So there
Okay.
are like 5 therapies they choose from to do like a reset and a cleanse. And
Okay.
the whole point of this is to reset the digestive fire and cleanse.
Okay.
So there was a lot of lymph massage and sweating and herbs.
Okay.
Uh, but like the most important thing was that don't eat when you aren't hungry.
It sounds like it's a lot to learn. And if someone were interested in learning more about this or pursuing this, the best bet would probably be to seek out a practitioner so they could get their own assessment, and see. Because
Yes.
I think we all want to grasp onto what worked for other people or what was your recipe and hope that it will be our recipe. But, there were things
Yeah.
that work for you that probably will work for a lot of people, but there's probably their own things that they need to tweak as well. And it sounds like the Ayurvedic treatment, is a bit multifaceted.
You don't have to learn all of this by yourself. I'd
Yeah.
recommend going to someone who can just tell you what to
Yeah.
do. And then when you have more energy, then you can like read a book.
Right.
But Ayurveda is always tailored to the individual
Okay.
because there are like body types and the state of imbalance that you are in right now.
Okay.
And then there's how the season influences your
Okay.
health right now. And
Yeah.
so that's why I feel like Ayurveda is different than all the other ME/CFS cures because
Mm.
it wasn't like this super specific thing. It's more like a big system where a doctor or practitioner will like find your key, like the key to your
Right.
recovery. It's
Right.
so it's if someone recreates exactly what I did, it won't have the same effect
Right.
unless they're the exact same body type and has the
Right.
exact same problem. But
Right.
yeah, so because
Thank
it's
you
so
so much
big.
for explaining all of this. We hear so much, and I'm sure you've done as well. We all, are searching and reading and listening and watching and trying to find solutions. And I hear very little about Ayurvedic medicine with ME/CFS. I do hear some, but not much at all. So I suspect there isn't a lot of awareness of
Yeah.
of its existence, of its potential to help people with this illness. So yeah, even if your story doesn't have the exact recipe for everybody else, at least it's something for people to be aware of. And I do hear a lot of people making comments or asking questions around stress. You know, I'm in a stressful living situation. Do you think I should get out of it? Is this going to keep me from healing? Or how much focus do you think I should put on my mental health? So what do you think about that?
And that was like essentially the root cause of all of this.
Mm.
And when I got sick, I moved back home. And I I don't think that was a good idea. I got a lot
Mm.
worse after I did that. That's when I like really lost my appetite and a lot of weight because I was in constant fear, fight or flight. I was
Mm-hmm.
so aware of all the sounds and all the moods, and this person is walking like this now, maybe they'll explode soon, like. So I kind of wish I hadn't moved back in, and it was delaying my healing, definitely.
Mm.
But if I hadn't done it, then I wouldn't have come to the realization that this was the root cause and had this
Mm.
huge, what's the word? Like, I really dealt with it properly once and for
Mm-hmm.
all. And I kind of had to go back in to finally come back out properly and like be really
Mm-hmm.
free. Definitely try to recognize if you have any toxic relationships in your life right now. And if you can't deal with them now, then I would, but if you can't right now, then just learn about these dynamics and psychological abuse, narcissism, and just empower yourself and build up your sense of
Mm-hmm.
self. And then you can like set the boundaries when you are stronger. But like uh, I, learning about this is so empowering and so validating. Like, oh, I wasn't crazy after all. I thought I was crazy, and it's just a huge relief. And just build up your self-love and your self-respect. And like a really good exercise for this is like make a list of all the relationships in your life and then take one name at a time. Close your eyes and think about how does this person make you feel. And this can be a real eye-opener because um, some are really clear, like, oh, I feel fear and shame when I
Mm-hmm.
think about this person. And some of them will be like, oh, I feel warm and oh, joyful and I want to laugh. Like those are the keepers. And then you have those that are more like there's a lot of confusion, but there isn't like anything like super toxic, but there's a lot of confusion. And I would say that this is also toxic. Like if a person doesn't make you feel good, then
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of bad. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Oh, I think that is such great advice. Thank you for that. I really, really love everything that you just said. It sounds like you have no doubt, as far as you're concerned, that stress impacts health. Definitely does.
Yes. Because I didn't realize how toxic it was until was better and I could leave. And then I left. And also just the knowledge that
Hmm.
this is psychological abuse is such a relief. And it's easier to just let it go one in one ear and out the other when you know that, okay,
Yeah.
yes, you don't take it as, it doesn't hit you so deeply anymore. So that
Yeah.
might help if you can't leave. And
Yeah.
just build up your knowledge and strength, and one day you'll be ready to leave and set the boundaries that will allow you to feel good, feel safe, and have a happy life. And maybe that is complete, full, no contact, or maybe it's more like we'll have a surface level relationship.
Well said. Well said. So, what all have you taken away from all of this experience now that you are at least physically fully recovered from this illness?
Always be yourself. Always follow your gut feeling. Always do what feels right for you, because when you don't, it will always blow up in your face sooner or later. Maybe in 10 years, maybe in 20 years, but if something isn't fully aligned with you, it's just a rocky foundation for life. So choose your careers and your partners and where you live from your heart or from your gut. Yes.
Excellent advice. And anyone who follows you on Instagram, I think, can attest that you are fully doing that. You are not just preaching it.
It's like I can't anymore. Yeah, I can't
Oh,
shove it back down now.
it's out.
Yes.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
so inspiring. And I think when we see other people really just truly being their true selves, it gives the rest of us permission to do the same.
Yes.
It's just we're
Yeah.
socialized to try and fit into boxes and act certain way and be certain things. And every time someone else speaks up, speaks their truth, does what makes them happy, I think the rest of us get a little spark inside of us. Like, hey, I want to
Yes.
do that.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, you can do that? I want to do that. And oh, you can be a YouTuber, or you can like travel and whoa, oh. Yeah, the internet is a blessing.
Yeah,
And I feel like I if I had been bedbound without internet, like
yeah,
I don't know how can you get out of that situation when you don't have access to new information? That's kind of like yeah. So I guess I'm lucky that it happened in the times we live in now. And I wouldn't have changed paths or stopped doing things I didn't want to do
yeah,
if I hadn't like if my life hadn't broken down. So as horrible as it is, I feel like all of this was happening for me. Like everything that was not meant to be just crumbled from my
mhm,
life. Like all in one go, but
yeah.
like I feel like you need to like remove and destroy what's not supposed to be there so that you can finally start building your authentic life.
Yes,
Yeah.
I felt the same. It felt like growth boot camp. And
Yes.
because you learn things when things are going terribly, which can be incredibly difficult to learn when things are going well. I'm certainly not saying that everyone should be grateful for this or that everyone needs to have this kind of experience. It's just, but for me, when I hear you speak, I feel the same. And I think about where I would be now had this not happened to me. And it
Yeah.
really scares me. I was not on my authentic path at all, not even close. So,
Yeah. I feel like the rest of my life would have been mediocre,
yes.
but since this happened, I had like some very shitty years, and then life afterwards became like, whoa, great.
Yes,
So I
yes,
guess all
exactly.
those years of a
Exactly.
great life might be worth those years,
Yeah.
or like the other way around. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So
thank you so much for being here. This has been just amazing hearing a bit more about your story. And like I said, I saw it originally on Liz's website, healwithliz.com. So if people want to read more about your story, there's a lot more information there. And then there are some other ways that people can follow you and you put your information out as well. So where is it best for people to find you if they want to see what you're up to?
well, I have a YouTube channel where I make videos about like my recovery and Ayurveda. I try to make some cooking videos,
Me
and
too. They're hard.
I just ended up making so many bad jokes and like.
Yeah.
And I also talk about how to become your own person and building like your true identity, and the tools that like helped me do that. Like I created a capsule wardrobe while I was sick, or I read a lot about it and saw videos when I was sick, and then I did it when I was better. So I have a small wardrobe that is just my 3 favorite colors, and it's like everything goes together, and then it's like, and to make this wardrobe you have to really reflect on what you like and who you are. And this was like the first time in my life where I even like went inwards like that. So it might seem superficial, but there's like deep psychological healing in doing these things. So,
I
and
love it.
also Instagram. If you want to send me a message, then that's where I'll reply the quickest.
Okay.
And yeah, on my website, I also have an email listed, so you can send me an email as well. So.
All right. And we will have links to your YouTube, your Instagram, and your website in the video description. So if anyone wants to find you, just expand the description at the bottom and all that information will be there. Well, thank you again. This was wonderful. I so appreciate your time. I know it's a bit late there, so thank you for accommodating with the time
Oh,
zone and
okay. Thank you so much for having me, and I hope this reaches those it is meant to. Yes.
And to all of you watching, we'd love to hear from you. As always, if you have comments or questions for Vera or myself, you can leave them in the comments or reach out to us on social media. We are always happy to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this, if you could give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, I'd love for you to subscribe. And share this video if you think someone else might enjoy seeing it. So that's all for today. Thank you again to you, Vera. Thank you to everyone watching, and take care, everyone.